Good afternoon. I wanted to film a short statement today because I've been hearing the craziest stories about how the COVID-19 pandemic got started. And in my opinion, it would be better to cure the disease and reopen the economy than run around trying to figure out whom to blame for this, but not reopen the economy as it was before. But on the story. So supposedly, Dr. Anthony Fauci is really just trying to make a huge amount of money by getting the patent on developing a vaccine for this. So therefore, he teamed up with a Chinese virologist, Dr. Shi something or other. No one seems to know her last name, but they call her the Bat Lady. And the two of them created this virus in a laboratory, either at Fort Detrick or Wuhan or something else. And then what was done is that the Chinese Communist Party decided to deploy this virus to destroy the phenomenal economy of the United States. Now, not only were they trying to destroy the US economy, but it was designed explicitly to kill Americans. How do we know? Well, look how many Americans are dying. So far, 85,000 Americans have been killed by this virus, and that's many more than died in China from it. So it should be obvious it was designed to kill Americans. That is a bunch of racist crap. And don't say, oh, we really love the Chinese people, but it was just the evil Chinese Communist Party. First of all, in December of 2019, when this began, China had 4.3 hospital beds per 1,000 population. In the United States in 2019, we had 2.8 hospital beds per 1,000 population. China also had not that long ago a terrible experience with a SARS epidemic. So once they were aware that they were dealing with a new virus after fumbling and some attempts to cover up locally for a few weeks, they moved very quickly to take extreme measures to control the spread of the virus. They set up fever clinics, they set up temperature screenings everywhere, they did mass testing, and as you're probably aware, they built hospitals, entire ICU bed hospitals of 1,000 beds in 9 days, and they built 14 such hospitals in Wuhan. By January 23rd, Wuhan had been shut down in a lockdown, and they didn't make a secret of that. The whole world knew that that occurred. Also, contrary to the lying propaganda of British agent Niall Ferguson, China did not allow flights to leave Wuhan or fly through Wuhan after that date of January 23rd. The problem in the United States, aside from the delays and the bungled starts we had with test kits that didn't work from the CDC and the debate over whether we should really wear masks or not, so we didn't test people, we didn't start closing things down early on. But aside from that, the real issue in the United States is the last 50 to 60 years of the so-called post-industrial economy. We were not prepared for this virus, and we have a culture that does not distinguish between the value of a human life and an animal. Everyone knows that in China and in Chinese culture, the elder people are revered. In the West, we have a different view, which was expressed by Jeremy Warner of the London Telegraph, that this virus isn't so bad because unlike the Spanish flu, which killed young people, this one primarily kills older people, so it actually could be beneficial for the economy. Why would I say that that's the view in the United States? Look at our nursing homes. The nursing homes, in many, many cases, deliver substandard care because they've been taken over by Wall Street vultures and firms and turned into a profit, where you literally are grinding up the people to make money. You're replacing nurses with nurses' aides with lower skilled people. And you had decisions, like in the state of New York, that people with COVID could be sent back into nursing homes where this would spread everywhere. So the truth of the matter is we have lost the morality of the World War II generation. We didn't move immediately to create massive housing in hotels and convention centers for people who were asymptomatic or for our healthcare providers. People were told to quarantine in their homes where they would spread it to their other family members. This has now been slightly shifted, but it's very late. Lyndon LaRouche warned about these conditions in the 1970s and 80s. He commissioned no less than 6 special reports warning that due to a collapse of the physical economy, the shutdown of the industrial economy for the so-called service economy, that we would create the conditions where pandemic disease could spread planet-wide because of the lowering of the standard of living. In the 1990s, LaRouche developed the triple curve function, where he demonstrated that the more that the stock market and financial values went up, the investment in the physical economy went down. So literally, the higher the stock market, the worse the U.S. economy was. Therefore, we can only solve this crisis by getting rid of the stupid ideas that have possessed our nation for the last 75 years and commit ourselves to create the conditions for a growing population with a rising standard of living. What LaRouche called for many years ago and is urgently needed today is a 4-power agreement among the United States, Russia, China, and India to establish fixed exchange rates and to create the conditions where every nation on the planet can be food self-sufficient and can develop its own full-set machine tool-based system economy and to abolish poverty. Millions of Americans could be employed producing the material necessary to create an adequate healthcare system in Africa and South America. The reason the British Empire have been trying to take down the Trump presidency is because President Trump himself expressed that he wanted to have good relations with Russia, good relations with China, and end regime change wars. Now, back to the story. The craziest part of this conspiracy of how COVID-19 was created, and I did hear this from someone yesterday, is that there was one person who tried to prevent this crazy scheme of playing around with these viruses. You know who that was? Former President Barack Obama. Obama, the guy who had a health care plan that was modeled on Hitler's T4 policy, getting rid of the useless eaters. Obama, whose health care plan argues that if people don't have a certain quality of life, that is, they're too old, too fat, suffering from dementia, too young, then it's really not worth the investment to save their lives. And now, is it any surprise that former President Barack Obama has turned up smack in the middle of the British-run operation to destroy the Trump presidency? So what I would like to suggest is that you work with me and the LaRouche Political Action Committee to organize for a 4-power agreement among the heads of state of the United States, Russia, China, and India to create a healthcare system planet-wide to put an end to any future pandemics, which will also create 1.5 billion jobs for this planet, developing this planet and other planets for many generations to come.